And opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And hello, K-Man, and happy Friday, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon, and welcome. How are you today, Mr. Harris?
I am very well today, Mr. Solomon. Happy Friday to you. Trust it was a good day.
It was a good day, and of course, even better that it's Friday. What's that saying? Thank God it's Friday.
TGIF. Thank God it is Friday indeed.
I can't say I'm going to get much relaxation, but, I was a little bit tired. I just feeling like I want to doze off somewhere.
Really? Well, good thing the weekend is quickly approaching.
You see me up here in the studio?
He normally doesn't drink coffee, but tonight I think I might just have to give him a sip or two.
No, I'm having a little hot chocolate.
Well, see, that's
don't spread any rumors now.
That's going to encourage you to sleep even more.
Can be.
Well, I am happy to report, and how I am with this weather this time of year, and also how dubious I have been over the last 2 days in terms of the National Weather Service's.
I know you're beginning to lose faith, Mr.
I was
Harris.
beginning to lose faith, but I'm glad to say my faith has been renewed. When I noticed that on 7 Mile Beach today, or I say not the beach, but 7 Mile Beach Road, let me be precise. Don't want you to think that I was goofing off today and, playing tourist. No, on the road, I noticed that whilst I missed it, I arrived, I guess, probably in this case, minutes after it ended. But it rained on 7 Mile Beach Road today. So
excellent.
Keeping the forecast true to form. Not necessarily in Georgetown proper or anywhere near where I was, but I'm delighted to say that it did in fact rain at some point today, and from all indications, from what I visually saw, I can say that, nobody told me this. I saw it with my own two eyes, that there was puddles all along 7 Mile Beach Road itself. Though there was an area, you could tell the water authority or the water company, whichever one, they were doing some work. So for a while there, I thought, that's just, related to some, pipe work or drilling a well or whatnot. But I drove further up and I thought, nope. That looks like heavenly moisture in the form of rain.
There's a chance to throw in that big word again, that precipitation.
Precipitation, quite right.
Which we know how encapsulating that is now, Mr. Harris,
That's
don't
right. That's right. We know definitively what the word precipitation means, and if you are a regular listener to the program,
you do too.
You do too, indeed. So just think of all the useful trivia knowledge you gain by just simply tuning into the program.
There you go. But I got to say something.
Yes.
You forgot to mention that your faith started to be renewed from yesterday. Because when we walked out of the studio, there was rain on the ground.
That is a very good point, an excellent observation. We did notice that it had rained whilst we were on the air, because it was bone dry when we started. But when we, got outside, we noticed there was certainly a bit of drip drops. I won't say a torrential downpour, but
couple of small pools out there.
Couple of small pools indeed. So I thank you for reminding me of that.
My pleasure.
That faith started to be renewed as of last evening, and hopefully, as we now take a look at what we can expect weekend weather-wise, that faith will hold firm. Taking a look at your weekend outlook, brought to you by the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. The synopsis calls for a gradual drying out of the atmosphere with the chance of a few showers tonight. Gentle winds and seas are expected to prevail during the next 24 hours in association with there's that word again, slack pressure gradient. Meanwhile, Doppler radar images show few showers south of the Cayman area moving towards the west-southwest. I'm not even looking at you, buddy, because I know exactly if I do, I'm going to burst out in laughter.
Yeah.
Tonight's forecast, for those of you who might be going out this evening, partly cloudy skies expected with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the low 80s. Winds will be out of the east to northeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights to 1 to 3 feet. Just in the odd event that skinny dipping might be in your future as well. Who knows? It'll be a nice night for it. And arguably, I do believe it's a full moon as well. I thought I saw a full moon at
Say
last
don't
night.
go out tonight. You're bound to lose your life. There's the full moon on the rise. Damn!
Well done.
I just wonder, how do you walk up to someone and say, I'd like to check your slack pressure gradient?
This is why, Lord, I did not look at my colleague.
Austin,
because I know.
Focus on the weather here.
I could hear the gears them a moving, and the mind there was a thinking.
Focus on the weather, Austin.
Tomorrow's forecast: partly cloudy skies and hazy at times as the anticipated Saharan dust plume starts to move into our area. That will create a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise to the low 90s, and the heat index, well, it'll be another surface of the Sunday, 106 degrees Fahrenheit with the heat index on your weekend weather. Winds will be out of the east at 5 to 10 knots. Seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. The outlook, again, calls for the Saharan dust plume to spread across the Western Caribbean through Sunday, which will bring generally settled and hazy conditions. So more sun than rain, regrettably, but thankfully, no tropical cyclones to speak of. So that's your first bit of good news for this Friday. And speaking of tropical cyclones, with your second bit of good news, staying with the weather for a moment, I saw an article, I believe it was in the Compass today, that said, while still calling for slightly above average hurricane activity, Colorado State University's tropical forecasting arm has made a small downward adjustment in its 2025 Atlantic hurricane season forecast. In its most recent update issued on the 9th of July, the university's atmospheric modeling team forecast 16 named storms, with 8 expected to become hurricanes and 3 strengthening to major hurricane status. Each of these figures represent one less than the earlier forecast issued at the start of the hurricane season, when the Tropical Meteorology Project team called for 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes reaching Category 3 and above. So instead of 17, we get 16. Instead of 9, we get 8 major storms. And again, instead of, 3 in this case, now they've increased it with, 9 hurricanes? Yeah, and 4 major. So we get 8 expected to be hurricanes. Currently, 3 expected to turn into major hurricanes, whereas before it was 4. So 1 less in every category. The meteorologist said that the primary reason for the slight decrease in the outlook was a high level of wind shear, which is limiting tropical cyclone formation, and it is expected to continue for at least the next few weeks. I will simply add to it that as long as that Saharan dust plume continues to remain over the Caribbean, as well as gets blown in our direction from the coast of Africa, that too is likely to slow down tropical cyclone, a.k.a. hurricane.
Well, you're sort of answering my question, because I was going to say, to whom, to what do we owe this downgrade? So are you suggesting it's the Saharan desert now?
Well, I'm suggesting the Saharan dust plume has a role to play. But as far as Colorado State University and their more learned team, they attribute it to a high level of wind shear that is limiting the tropical cyclone development. So wind shear, obviously, you're talking about winds, depressions, lows coming in from either North America or up from Central and South America. Either way, blowing those bad news away from us here in the Cayman Islands, and I'll take it as good news.
Too deep for me.
Too deep for you?
I'll just keep it on the surface. It's good. Less hurricanes.
Less hurricanes.
All this shear wind and slack pressure gradient.
All good news. All good news.
Yeah.
That throwing a little dust either way, all means one thing. Good
Throwing
news.
a little dust. That can be misinterpreted too.
That
But yeah,
could
work
be a
with
little
me.
dust, a little sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there. But either way, no hurricanes to report this weekend, and potentially, fingers crossed, no hurricanes to report over the next couple of weeks. But that is great news to me and to certainly those of us who might be following the weather and obviously keeping a close eye, or as the line is, keeping a weather eye on the horizon.
The last thing we need, first of all, is a hurricane. We can ill afford it. And then we don't even need the threat, actually.
Nope.
Because the last thing we need is another run at Foster's and another run at my favorite store to get plywood.
That's right.
Oh, boy.
And the mad dash for toilet paper, apparently, which continues to this day.
Yeah, that befuddles us.
That does befuddle me. It really does.
It's a key ingredient. We just haven't quite figured out how it got into the formula and where exactly it fits in. But apparently it's key somewhere.
I'm guessing, though, that perhaps, because, we're a transient society, and whilst, corned beef is a staple to Caymanians and certainly always considered to be a good hurricane food. But, it's good also for your hurricane box because, next to Twinkies, it lasts forever.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But I'm assuming here, I don't know.
I'm taking note. I'm more of a beans man.
But I'm assuming that perhaps maybe one or two folks came to the island during a tropical cyclone, sampled some of that corned beef as a good hurricane resistant, staple. And maybe they had a bad reaction. I don't know.
Hey,
I don't know.
Inquired minds want to know.
I'm curious, but to your point, somewhere along the lines, I think between COVID and hurricanes, we decided that the things we absolutely cannot do without in a state of emergency, toilet paper.
Well, if there's anyone out there who's really learned on the matter, can elucidate us as to exactly why toilet tissue is such a key important ingredient.
When the proverbial thing hits the fan, I guess that's what they're thinking. Well, weather's coming down. It's definitely going down. Let's clean it up.
I think there'll be enough water around,
That's a good point.
You probably don't have to worry about it.
Wouldn't have to. You could be irrigated. Take my word for it. Anyway, that's the good news. But we have some more good news, and I think it'll be the last bit of good news. There may be a fourth item for good news, but it's also a reminder of bad news. We'll see how much time we have. But also in today's Cayman Compass, we see that the National Heroes Day Annual Achievement Awards has now been renamed the National Recognition Awards by Cabinet.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'll be honest with you. When I first saw the headline, and of course my eyes glanced over the first one or two lines, I thought, how bored do you have to be in Cabinet if you take a lovely name like National Heroes Day and you decide to fix it? Just like government. They fix that, which isn't necessarily broken. But in this instance, I have to agree with the findings, and I'm also in agreement with the chief officer, who was largely, either, involved in the change, and knowing her as I do, probably had a lot to say on the change. But the change, according to your media headlines, seeks to delineate award recipients, that is, of course, to separate from the venerated group of people bestowed with the title of National Hero. According to minutes released by the Cabinet Office on their 18th of June meeting, has confirmed that the renaming will come into effect for the National Heroes Day observance in 2026, that's January next year. The annually celebrated ceremony honors people from across all three Cayman Islands who have made valuable contributions to the nation. Teresa Echeniki, the chief officer in the Ministry of Culture and Heritage, explained that the title of National Hero carries profound meaning and that it was important to establish a clear distinction between it and those individuals and award recipients who are simply being recognized for some annual contribution or can be recognized multiple times. National heroes, she says, are a select group of distinguished individuals identified by Cabinet. They hold this title permanently, whereas award recipients, on the other hand, are people who are recognized annually at the National Heroes Day celebration for outstanding achievements. She says, we didn't want to confuse the two, but of course, we wanted to ensure that both of those areas got the value and the appreciation that we wanted them to have. And that was the reason for being a slight change in terms of the naming of the actual award that the people are getting on National Heroes Day, she said. At January celebration, Cayman's 4 new national heroes were announced, and they include Captain Keith Tibbets, Mr. Ernest Cradock Ebanks, Mr. Frank Hugh George Scotland, and Miss Francine Eldona Jackson, with the latter, Miss Francine, being the only national hero named who is still, in fact, alive today. Close to 200 other people were honored for their contributions to business and innovation. So National Heroes Day, come 2026, will be no more, and it will be renamed the National Recognition Award.
But everybody keeps their award forever, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know. Good question. I think you can only be named a national hero once, where you can receive national recognition, arguably multiple times if nominated on an annual basis. I guess that's
you
what
probably need a really good definition for that then. Yeah. But I mean, I see where they're going.
Yeah.
Probably create some challenges. I mean, that's a pretty long name. National Recognition. What was it?
National Recognition Awards. Again, it doesn't exactly roll off the lip quite as smoothly as National Heroes Day.
Yeah, that's what it was, right? National Heroes Day, right?
Yes. So now,
and I remember that was also the term Premier Awards used to be used as well. Initially, when we talked about that, because it started under Mr. Bush,
it did.
It was being referred to as Premier Awards. Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember the Premier
Awards. Of which everyone was
the
against it, by the way, just for clarity.
Probably because it was too close to perhaps being named after him as Cayman's first premier.
Oh, yeah, could be.
Again, the crab mentality.
Can be. Can be.
Can be.
But either way, yeah, it's about accurate. It's a bit long. It's a bit of a mouthful.
It is.
From National Heroes Day, which kind of rolls off the tongue, as you say, versus National Recognition Awards Day.
We assume there's the day on it, whilst the article in the cabinet minutes didn't add the day at the end. I mean, you kind of, it sounds like an empty or an unfinished sentence.
So maybe...
Where are you going? I'm going to the National Recognition Awards. Where's that at? During the day or the night?
I like it. I like that style, Austin. So maybe we could shorten it by just taking the national out of it. That could be inferred, right?
Like RA Day.
First,
look at that.
RNA.
You think it's a road day?
So RNA would be like the copy guy on the DNA side.
Yes.
But it could just be Recognition Day or Recognition Awards, right?
Could be.
Because we infer it's national.
Yes. Well, us Caymanians, we like to, in this case, it's a 3-name event, but we are convinced we can make that shorter. That's, why go through all the exercise of saying National Recognition Awards when you can just call it Recognition Awards?
Yeah.
Say it faster.
Call it Recognition
Awards. Exercise. Less time and energy.
Or Recognition Day.
Or recognition. Or just call it awards.
I mean, because, Recognition Awards, because, again, I think national is inferred.
Yes.
But either way, I hope that doesn't make anyone feel the less in terms of their awards, because they're all heroes as far as I'm concerned.
No, absolutely. And I think really at the end of the day, well, to your point, whilst I recognize the intention and wanting to draw a separation or a delineation, if you will, between national heroes and everyone else who might be recognized for other contributions, again, National Heroes Day, to your point, whether you're being recognized for contributions in your respective field over decades of continued effort, or you're being recognized as a national hero, where really the only separation is you get the same award, you get the same medal, but the difference is you get your bust. And that is, of course, the statue is what I'm referring to, after yourself, either
from
the shoulders up, or you get a Jim Biden style facing the Legislative Assembly looking into the future from the past.
And that would be suggesting that you only get national hero if you're dead. Like a posthumous award, right?
Posthumous, yeah. But again, in this case, of course, in January 2026's honors list, 1 out of the 4 haven't since passed on. Of course, Miss Francine Eldona Jackson, who will also be named the next national hero, is the only remaining living recipient. And again, I guess that is rare. But certainly, as we say, it's nice to be able to receive your flowers whilst you're still alive.
Oh, yeah, well, that's definitely good.
Indeed. So I want to congratulate the families of all 4 of the newest national heroes, but most especially to Miss Francine Eldona Jackson personally on behalf of Straight Talk, my colleague and I, and also to their extended families. It is a truly an honor, a most distinguished honor, and one undoubtedly very well earned over a lifetime.
So I don't know if this has been done or being done, but I remember mentioning this from time I was in Parliament. I haven't seen it, but I could be missing something.
Yeah.
But I've always said, I mean, whether it's the library or, again, the internet that did something similar you said the other day with the seafarers, I would hope that we can have that National Heroes website, or in this case, the National Recognition Awards website, where you can go on and look at the persons that have been awarded and get their story. I keep saying we need the story.
Indeed.
We need to know the trials, the tribulations, and the accomplishments of these persons, so that this is what is going to be. And what was it? Our friend Huta in the studio. These are the intangible things that will motivate our young persons.
Quite right.
You know, did you know, Mom, that guy starved to death for 30 days on a ship, but he didn't give up, Mom?
Right.
Oh, really? Yes. You know, we need the story.
Indeed.
So hopefully they can create that website.
Well, let's just, put it out there that this is an opportunity, we think, for the Celebrate Cayman organization, which is headed by our good friend and former MP, Alfonso Wright. They do some wonderful work.
Okay.
I mean, they truly, truly do wonderful work. I had the pleasure of not working directly with them, but sharing an office literally on the same floor with these individuals in another life. And they do some tremendous work.
Alfonso's a cool guy, so hopefully they'll do that. You know, I think it would be something good, and I'm pretty sure the recipients will appreciate it. But I think the country needs to be able to have something where you can go and look it up and say, hey, Austin got an award. Let me go and learn about his story.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. In breaking news, again, part of it is good news. The other part just reminds us of the bad news. And certainly this is something you'll hear about probably in the next 5 minutes when we go off to the BBC News. Why does that cough always sneak up on me when I'm in the middle of a remark? But anyway. So a preliminary report into the disastrous Air India crash has now been released in the public domain, and the preliminary report seems to cast attention on the actions of the pilots on that fateful day, alluding to what could possibly become pilot error in the final report. According to the preliminary report into the Air India crash last month, both fuel control switches, which are used to turn the engines off, were moved to the cutoff position, the report says. It says that in the cockpit voice recording, one of the pilots is heard asking the other why did the cutoff, or why he did the cutoff, with the other pilot responding that he did not do so. Of course, you will remember in that crash, at least 260 people were killed in the crash, being defined as perhaps the most violent air disaster in India's history, with only one sole survivor, a British national, having escaped the wreckage through an opening in the fuselage. The report has been filed by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, the AAIB, and is based on the initial findings of the probe, marking 30 days since the crash. However, aviation experts have cautioned that this only represents a preliminary finding and that plans and/or conclusions could change between now and the final report.
I like that.
Which reminded me of a saying, which my brother reminded me of just last night, that there's a long way between the lip and the cup.
Yeah.
In this instance.
In the cup and the lip.
Between the cup and the lip. Quite right, indeed. So this is a similar situation, could result in that. But again, just on a preliminary basis, hot off the presses, preliminary report has been released and cast attention on what could be pilot error as the reason for that crash. That is in the news, and undoubtedly we will hear further update from this in about a minute or so as we pause to go off to the news. But with a minute and a half or so left, Ellio, I wanted to sort of tease at least two of the topics that I have at least on my agenda to raise, coming in hot from the headlines over the course of this week, one from today and one from, I think, either yesterday or the day before. But both of them deal with court-related matters, of which in many, and if not all cases, I would defer to your very keen legal mind to add perhaps your commentary in terms of, what it means to you and what it means to the country. But those will be the two topics we'll pick up on when we come back.
I can't wait for that, Dusty.
Okay, boo-boo.
I'm waiting for that.
The phone lines are open. Your voices are very good. I've always told you that before. You're
You know that one.
You have a chameleon-like ability.
Yeah, I can't wait. Which reminds me, I probably got something extra to talk about when we come back, but
That sounds good.
I tried not to. How many seconds we have?
You have 45.
I tried not to let my mind drift. And I won't say it, but for those bright minds out there, they'll pick it up. But my mind did start to drift when you said the worst disaster on this Indian plane and how many of these people died and one Brit survived. My mind went there, but I said, Ellio, don't. And that's all I'm going to say. Go search your history.
I can guess
Go search
where
your
the
history.
mind was going, but we're definitely going to come back to that.
Go
and
search
more.
your history.
Keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk still on the way. Coming up next, turning over to our news partner, the BBC. But keep it locked. Straight Talk returns on Bobo FM.
Bobo. The BBC is the world's most trusted news source. And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to top shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman, on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
BBC News.
BBC News.
World news from the BBC. Violent clashes. Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive wind.
A search and recovery operation.
A race against time.
An imminent threat.
Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. The preliminary report into last month's deadly plane crash in the Indian city of Ahmedabad has just been released. Investigators said the flight data from the Air India jet showed both the fuel control switches, normally used to switch the engines on or off when on the ground, were moved to the cut-off position shortly after takeoff. Here's Theo Leggett.
What we have here is information from the flight data recorder, which shows quite conclusively that those switches, both of them, were in the cut-off position, and that one of the pilots, we don't know which one, noticed this was the case and asked the other pilot why they had turned those switches into the opposite position, into the cut-off position. Now, the focus of the investigation going forward will be on why. Was the confusion in the cockpit at the time? It may be that one of the pilots made a mistake, or there may be some other motive.
Palestinian officials have told the BBC that Gaza's ceasefire negotiations between Hamas and Israel are on the verge of collapse. A senior Palestinian official said Israel had stalled the process by sending a delegation with no real authority. Emir Nada reports.
On one key point of contention, the withdrawal of troops, a Palestinian official said the Israeli delegation presented a map which would allow it to effectively maintain control of around 40% of the Gaza Strip, including a number of cities. The officials also called an Israeli proposal to create a so-called humanitarian city in Rafah as a trap and a clear plan for the forced displacement of Palestinians. Yesterday in the United States, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had maintained a positive tone, telling hostage families that a deal was just a few days away.
President Trump has dismissed a question about the effectiveness of flood alert warnings in Texas as he visited communities devastated by the rapid rise of the Guadalupe River a week ago. Mr. Trump said only an evil person would ask a question like that. But the governor of Texas said the authorities needed to devise a response to prevent similar tragedies. Mr. Trump earlier said all assistance had been made available.
When the request was made for the emergency funds, Christy, I think we gave it within about 2 minutes, maybe less, and they had everything they needed, right, immediately. So we've deployed over 400 first responders and assisted or enabled more than 1,500 rescues. Amazing, 1,500. Customs and Border Protection and the U.S. Coast Guard have deployed numerous search and rescue crews.
A mass layoff of U.S. State Department staff is underway, with more than 1,300 people losing their jobs. As part of Mr. Trump's plans to streamline the federal workforce, the American Foreign Service Association called the move a catastrophic blow to U.S. national interests. BBC News. An appeals court in the United States has thrown out the plea deal that spared the mastermind of the September the 11th attacks the death penalty. The agreement with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had sparked anger among relatives of victims of the 2001 attacks, and the then Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin moved to cancel it last year. The plea deal looked like ending a long, drawn-out legal saga, with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 2 other defendants still being held at Guantanamo Bay. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said he's been told that military aid shipments to his country have been restored, and he hopes to reach new agreements with allies in the coming weeks. It's not clear what weapon systems he was referring to, but his statement comes after Washington last week announced it was pausing some military aid to Kiev. Oksana Markarova is the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S.
Now everything is unblocked and we are receiving the supplies, and the supplies are crucial. We're very grateful to the American people for the support that we have been receiving. It has been critical for us.
Police in Guatemala say they are investigating the deaths of 5 men who were beaten and set on fire by an angry mob. They were suspected of robbing homes while people were sleeping in shelters after a series of earthquakes. The lynching happened in an indigenous Mayan community about 50 kilometers southwest of Guatemala City. The English Premier League champions Liverpool FC have announced they're permanently retiring the number 20 shirt in honour of its late player Diogo Jota. His death in a car crash last week caused widespread consternation. It's the first time the club has made such a gesture, calling it a unique tribute. The 20 shirt will be banned at all levels. BBC News.
Opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, Kim-Ann, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live on YouTube and Facebook under the key search word Straight Talk Radio Show. You can also find us streaming live on the ACT Cruise Tourism Facebook page as well. We're your hosts, Ellio Solomon and myself, Austin Harris. And the phone lines remained open on this Friday, as they have pretty much every day this short week. The number to call is 745-2626 if you want to call up and add your voice to our ongoing conversation, whether you want to pick up on something we've already been talking about, or if you want to take us in an entirely different direction, the option is available to you by dialing 745-2626. If talking isn't your thing, you can also reach out to us on our WhatsApp line, 928-2562. And from there, you can either share a WhatsApp audio note or a traditional WhatsApp text message. You can also use a traditional text to that same number should you wish to communicate directly with us. Ellio, I did say during the break that I had two matters that were presently before the courts that perhaps may have some impact. And the first one on individual, in this case, future property owners, and in the second incident, potentially have some, repercussions to a former member of parliament. But before I engage in either one of those, was there a point you wanted to make on a previous discussion that you can think of?
No, I just remembered taking a chuckle when you were talking about the number, because I said maybe I should dial into the
Right. Maybe I should call in and have a conversation that way. Hey, Austin and Ellio, I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. I love listening to you every day. But here's a thought.
Here's how I can get a word in there.
I'm
only teasing.
You did.
I'm only teasing, Austin. I'm just saying.
Unfair.
It is unfair.
Thank you.
I can always jump in whenever I want it, but it was just a funny moment bouncing around in my head, and I couldn't resist. Let me just go outside and call the program.
Yes, I'm supposed to be a co-host, but I think I might have greater luck in calling in by participating than actually sitting next to him.
I enjoy you taking the lead, and I can just sit here and listen attentively and chiming and hopefully make one or two good salient points.
Well, the feeling is mutual, my friend, when you offer up a thinking man's dialogue, as I do enjoy very much. There have been more occasions than one that I have learned new things because you have said so. So I appreciate you as well. Thus ends our Mutual Admiration Society meeting.
There you go. At least you're teaching persons how to do. It's better than other persons just tearing people down.
God knows. Both frogs and the like.
What is this? Salt and chlorine? What do you say?
Salt and bleach.
Go ahead.
Just a dab of salt and bleach.
We digress. On to the legal matter. I have my wig on now.
That was funny. Yeah, so to my learned friend. An article appeared, I think it was in yesterday's Independent, my new favorite newspaper, that says Grand Court rejects developer's bid to dismiss property owner's lawsuit. Let me just read a few sections from it, just sort of to set the case for the defense. The Grand Court has rejected a developer's attempt to dismiss a lawsuit filed by 16 property owners at 2 residential developments in the Cayman Islands. Justice Marlene Carter ruled on the 3rd of July that individual owners at Blue Acres 1 and Blue Acres 2 can pursue legal action against developer 11 Park Limited in their own names, despite the properties previously mentioned now being organized under strata corporations. The case involves alleged defects and breaches of development agreements at the 2 complexes, which now comprise 17 units housed in 5 separate 2-story buildings. 11 Park Limited has sought summary judgment and applied to strike out the lawsuit, arguing that once the strata plans were registered, the individual property owners lost the right to sue third parties. The company claimed that only the strata corporations could bring such legal action. The developer's legal team argued that the Strata Titles Registration Act created corporate bodies that assumed responsibility for all property-related enforcement matters against third parties. However, the plaintiff's lawyers, that is those on the defendant's, the individual owner's side, countered that the act was designed only for administration and management of strata properties and did not fundamentally alter private contractual rights between individual owners and developers. Justice Carter agreed with the property owners, ruling that Section 5 of the Act serves as an enabling provision that creates corporate entities but does not strip away individual proprietors of their right to property. So essentially, basically saying that you buy a property, and whilst it may be considered at the time of the purchase a standalone or individual property, thereby enabling you or entitling you to individual property owner rights, should those properties later on become stratarized, you do not lose your individual property rights, even though you are part of a strata.
Yeah.
Which I think gives reassurance to individuals, much like the case that went all the way to the Privy Council.
I was going to say, it sounds like it's very similar.
Yes, indeed. To suggest that, whether you are the first owner, second, or third owner of overall development, those who were individual owners at the time of that new acquisition still hold on to their individual property owner rights in the event of disputes. So this, I think, is very good, given the state of the Cayman Islands real estate market being as robust as it is, given the state that there are many
stratas.
Well, certainly when there are a lot of what would be condos or even, rental housing units, when they're, done in group or build en masse, usually become strata for ease of administration and management. And there are benefits to a strata.
Yeah, you have to strata in order to sell it.
Right, exactly.
Because everybody gets now, and you sit down and you decide exactly what belongs to what person, what common area, what parking, everything, right?
Exactly. So the strata-based system isn't going anywhere. It's sticking around, but it only reaffirms that even with the strata, and whilst there are privileges that are attached to being a strata, there are still privileges applied to the individual unit owners that they can exercise should they wish in the event of a dispute, and does not diminish those individual property rights. So we think this is a good thing.
Another good landmark one.
Yeah, a very good landmark, and certainly in line with previous Privy Council's decisions that sought to address matters relevant to the former Hyatt/Britannia properties.
So to put that in color,
yep,
for those persons listening that are being a part of the strata, do not think that you as the individual have somehow lost it and you have to just leave everything in the strata's hands.
That's right.
You will still maintain that ownership, and you can take legal rights to enforce that ownership.
Correct. Indeed.
Yeah.
So we consider
Very
that good news, and that is in the media. So if you are one such person who perhaps may be an owner in a stratarized property group, well, hopefully you'll consider this a feather in your cap. Not that you will want to go to court, because nobody likes, actually having to go to court. But should you face the need in some future uncalled for, unplanned for event, your rights will be protected under the court, which is good news. Away from the good news to what may be deemed bad news for at least one former MP, though he no longer is an elected member of office, he has carried the moniker of being the father of the house, one of the longest-serving former MPs to ever hold office in the Cayman Islands. But regrettably, he also, no stranger to the courtroom. The Court of Appeal judges have ruled that the Honorable Mikiva Bush can be retried on charges of indecent assault in relation to a Grand Court case that was halted mid-trial last year. In that trial, Bush had faced charges of indecently assaulting two female civil servants at a government-hosted tourism reception at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel back in September 2022. At the time of the alleged assaults, Bush was the Speaker of Parliament. Grand Court Justice Stanley Johns stopped those proceedings mid-trial on the 29th of February 2020 last year, citing an abusive process, and discharged the jury. His decision came following submission from Bush's legal team that indicated, among other concerns, that one of the two alleged victims who told the police and prosecutors she did not want to press forward with charges had been, quote-unquote, tricked into giving evidence and ordered to appear as a witness in court or face arrest. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions appealed that decision, and on Friday, the 11th of June, the Court of Appeal ruling was read aloud in court before Bush and his lawyer, Dennis Brady, by Grand Court Justice Emma Peters. The judgment found that John had failed to set out the necessary details in terms of what specifically was about the trial that had compromised the criminal justice system to an unacceptable degree. The appeal judges therefore ordered that the case be sent back to the Grand Court, giving the DPP the option of taking Bush to trial once again on the same charges. Bush was accused at that time, back in 2022, of planting unwanted kisses on the shoulder of one woman, while it is alleged that a drunken Bush had given a second woman a love bite on her wrist, leaving teeth marks. However, it was this allegation that was said to have been withdrawn by the woman, while the DPP decided, in the absence of her consent and contrary to her wishes and her views, that no offense had been committed. The DPP decided to instigate and continue to press forward with the prosecution for unexplained reasons, and this was the basis upon which the Grand Court Justice Stanley John brought an abrupt end to that proceeding, citing a mistrial in the events due to inappropriate behavior on the part of the DPP. The decision now by the Court of Appeals.
Sounds like he was suggesting they were a bit overzealous.
Indeed, I think that's perhaps exactly what was the case. They were a bit overzealous in their prosecution and sought to, in some cases, subvert the course of justice in terms of, again, individual rights and someone who can bring a case, bring an accusation, but also has the right to withdraw at any future period.
Well, I'll qualify by saying it definitely causes me to infer that that's what he is suggesting.
Yeah.
But, you know, in addition to that, I recall hearing at one point that the authorities, and this perhaps points to the favor of the DPP, that the authorities has the right to kind of go forward with some of these cases, even if the spouse or the individual involved on the other side suggests otherwise.
Usually when they refer to like their domestic violence cases.
Especially with the spouse, right?
Yeah, it's their zero tolerance approach to domestic violence.
Right, because they're saying that these individuals may very well be in a position that they simply don't want to go forward.
Right.
Or on one hand, they want to go forward, but for other good reasons, they don't want to go forward.
Right.
And it gives the authority the power to do that. So I don't know. Maybe DPP was acting in that sort of regard.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know either. We can't say. But what we can say is that
it's allowed to go back now.
Well, the decision of the appeal judges allows prosecutors until the 5th of September this year to consider the Court of Appeal ruling and to inform the Grand Court as to whether it intends to move forward. The Court of Appeal did cite that a considerable amount of time has since passed since the original events occurred. That may or may not water down their argument, but certainly leaving it up to the DPP if they believe a trial still remains in the public interest, and certainly the public interest test certainly needs to be applied in this instance. So the DPP has some thinking of their own to do, deciding whether they still have a strong enough case in which to proceed, and or if it still remains a public interest item for the courts to hear. So we don't know what their decision will be, but we will wait until either on or before the 5th of September for that decision to likewise be announced in the media. And as always, we will be there to report it to you. So there you have it. So those are my two legalese matters. I don't have anything else on my agenda that I could talk about. There are one or two arguably fluff matters that we can throw in the mix if you want to, and we want to perhaps stir the pot on the whole police investigative side. We can do that again, but it is a Friday. I'm inclined not to go there, but I can be convinced otherwise.
Yeah, well, I'm going to just touch on this issue of a post that I made on my page, because where I don't have the time or the patience to listen, I have heard that there are at least one person that's confused about it. And if there's one person that's confused, who knows? Might be somebody else. So I wrote 6 days ago on my page, Straight Talk has received credible information from multiple sources indicating that the National Coalition for Caymanians, NCFC government, is advancing a policy that would prevent any individual who ran against a sitting NCFC government member from serving on government boards or holding any appointed roles. If I stop there, what that is saying is that the understanding is that for whatever reason, NCFC is saying, hey, if you run against one of these members, then you can't get on a board.
Yep.
So in this particular
You
case,
have nothing to contribute. Don't even ask.
spelling it out, making it easy.
Yep.
For example, Sabrina would have ran against
Michael Miles.
So she would now not be able to serve on a board. No, it doesn't matter how brilliant she might be. It doesn't matter how much she has to lend.
Well, she might think she might be.
Again, bottom line is she wouldn't be able to serve. You would also have a similar situation as it would relate, and I'm just doing the one coming to my mind. You would have Jordan.
Yes.
And I don't remember all the other candidates, and I apologize for that. I think there was at least 2 other ones.
Yes.
But because they would have ran against Minister Anglin,
Correct.
then they also would not be able to serve on the boards.
Correct.
Or arguably play any role in the government.
Correct.
You would also have that situation with Sterling Dween, who ran against the premier. Then he would not be able to play a role and a function in the government.
Correct.
And I might be missing someone else, but anyone. So again, Justin in Northside.
Yes, running against J.E. Banks.
Running against Jay. So anyone that ran against anyone in the NCFC, the argument is that there is a tacit, a silent policy existing somewhere that's saying these individuals will not be able to play a role at all in the government. Now, let me just stress on that paragraph. I do not think that that's fair. I don't think that's right.
No.
And in fact, it goes on to say why it's not right. Continuing on, if true, such a policy is a serious breach of the standards in public life and represents an unethical act of victimization. It undermines the core principles of democratic governance and equal opportunity. Worse, it points to a corrupt attempt to consolidate power and silence opposing voices. Elected officials swear an oath to serve the people of the Cayman Islands, not to protect their re-election chances. And pause. If you're doing that, one can argue there can only be one reason why you're doing that. And that is to shore up your re-election chances. The country's boards and advisory bodies should reflect a diversity of thought, experience, and competence, not party loyalty. Straight Talk has also learned that 2 failed candidates from the Caymanian Coalition Party, TCCP, have been appointed as political assistants to the Premier. Namely, Mr. Anthony Ramon, former candidate for Georgetown Central, and Ms. Natasha Whitelock, former candidate for Red Bay. So let's pause there. All right, I know. Let me go on one more. Additionally, Mrs. PLR Maxim Bush has also been hired as a political assistant, bringing the total number of assistants serving the Premier to 3.
I just want to pause on that point. The same Pilar Maxim Bush also served in the same capacity under former Premier Panton for the short time that he held the post.
Which is an interesting continuity.
Indeed it is.
This concentration of appointments raises serious concerns about favoritism, political stacking, and use of public resources for partisan purposes. Straight Talk will continue to investigate these developments and urges the public to remain vigilant and engaged. Caymanians deserve a government that serves all of its people, not just those who support the ruling party. Now, again, please forgive me. I didn't have any chance to listen to some of the nonsense that I understand was being spewed, but just in a very general way, let's understand that this is simply a case of saying that this is what we understand to be the situation, and therefore it is possible if that is indeed the case. And time will tell. Because if we don't see something happening, say, let's say for Sterling Dween, for Miss Sabrina, for Justin, for all of these candidates that have lost, and I continue to say this, we know what it is about victimization. This is victimization.
Yep.
These persons have shown that they're eager and want to play a role to serve you, the general public. Now, the Chinese have a proverb or an adage that says you don't give your enemies sharp weapons. But in this particular case, that is not relevant. No one is saying that you're supposed to give these individuals sharp weapons to kill yourself. But it doesn't mean that somebody cannot play a role in helping you, the general public. The decisions must be based on terms of appointments on whether you have a role or that person has a role to play.
Yep.
Not simply because, no. He ran against me. He not my friend. Me and him, we keeping him down. He not winning this time.
Yep.
So, and I know that doesn't really sound self-serving. And many of us in a self-serving way would say, well, I might do the same thing. Well, there's a lot of things we might do. Doesn't make it right.
Indeed.
So there's specific policies that work against that. And if that is indeed the case, that is what the government is doing, that is what the article is trying to highlight. Again, for the simple-minded, it has nothing to do with the port. It has nothing to do with me in terms of the, Turtle Center Board. Nothing to do with that. And just for clarity, I have given kudos to the goodly minister in tourism. I have been saying nothing but good about the minister.
45 seconds.
So just to help, set the confused straight, the obfuscated straight, that is the article, and it is a serious issue. And time will tell us whether that is the actual agreement or not, because we will look and see who are ultimately appointed to those boards. All righty. So when we come back, maybe we can read one more of those. But
well, I do have just a bit of
a comment.
A comment on that point. But
tease it just before the break.
But like you, I've run out of time. But I will simply say that the small-minded haters have once again missed the entire point of the reason behind the argument, which we'll touch on when we come back.
More Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio coming up. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Bobo 103.1.
With you in mind, we have your style. Find what you need down every aisle. You want saving, selection, and quality. That's why we're your home store. The way to make a home. The way to make a home. With you in mind, we have your style. Find what you need down every aisle. You want saving, selection, and quality. That's why we're your home store. The way to make a home. The way to make a home.
Insurance matters. It gives you the confidence to live life as you should, knowing you're protected. As a leading local insurer for over 25 years, Island Heritage has a consistent track record of providing best-in-class customer service with quick and efficient claims processing. This means insurance you can rely on when you need it most. The Island Heritage Way. Visit us online at islandheritageinsurance.com today to learn more about our home, contents, motor, marine, and commercial insurance products. Go on and live your life. With Island Heritage, you can.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately. And
that's fine. We know you love it.
we just don't understand how you could afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu starting at just $3. Gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shedden Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value meals. The deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices. KFC, so good.
When you're on the go, the experienced team at Foster's Pharmacy are here to help. Drop off your prescription while you shop or WhatsApp us and we'll prepare it, ready for your arrival.
Whether you need prescription or over-the-counter medications, blood glucose testing, or advice on vitamins and supplements, we're here early in the morning to late at night. Both of our locations at our Camana Bay and airport stores are open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday.
For more info, visit fosters.ky/pharmacy. Foster's Pharmacy. Better health because we care.
Hello, pet parents. We're K-Man Vets, K-Man's most advanced veterinary clinic providing quality care and services. We are committed to being your pet's advocate and friend, offering a lifetime of care. From vaccinations and wellness checks to more advanced surgical procedures, complicated medical concerns, and emergency care on demand. For more information about us or to get in touch, please visit caymanvets.com. Cayman Vets, where compassion meets excellence.
Across Cayman on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority, committed to caring for you. The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, Cayman, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM and simulcasting live over YouTube and Facebook with the key search words Straight Talk Radio Show. We're your hosts, Ellio Solomon, myself, Austin Harris. And the phone lines remain open now and all the way until 6:30 this evening. If you have a comment, an opinion, or, even a dissenting viewpoint, imagine that. You are welcome to share your thoughts with us by dialing 745-2626 to the number that dials directly into our studio. If talking isn't your thing, again, you can access our WhatsApp number by dialing 928-2562, and from there, either sharing a WhatsApp audio note or a traditional WhatsApp text message. The only difference, obviously, in the phone lines and the WhatsApp lines is that any person who makes contribution via WhatsApp remains anonymous unless otherwise stipulated or requested by the author. And there are those who choose to remain anonymous and others want to be identified. Your wish, as we say, is our command. We'll work it any way you want. Just picking up on the comments that you were making in the last segment relevant to arguably comments that were made on a previous show in a different format. On the one hand, I want to say you should be flattered because clearly another program, much like ours, has an opportunity to discuss the issues of the day. And the only thing they deem important enough is to discuss the issues that we have been talking about. So on the one hand, thank you. We are flattered. We certainly do appreciate the fact that you recognize the importance of our remarks. But on the other hand, I have to address what I consider the small-minded and short-sighted remarks of those individuals for entirely missing the point. And the point was made that the claim being laid out in your, post on social media did not happen exclusively under the National Coalition for Caymanians, but perhaps has existed since time immemorial. And to their point, it probably has. It neither started under the PPM nor the UDP or arguably the groupings that came before it that formed government before the party system came on the scene in the first place. But the fact that something has happened before and continuously before does not make it right. And the point is to discount the abilities, the experience, the qualifications, and what an individual Caymanian may bring to the table in order to help the whole of the country simply on the basis that they didn't run with you, they ran against you, they didn't agree with you, heaven forbid they shared a different point of view, but by somehow now reaching out to them and taking advantage of their acknowledged skill set simply because they didn't fly the same color as you is dangerous, damaging, and only the people of the Cayman Islands suffer. I'll take it a further step forward. It is one of the reasons that only adds fuel to the fire that has some foreign nationals saying that we need to amend our constitution to allow persons not born of this jurisdiction, to allow persons without families, at least a mother, a father, a grandparent who were born in the Cayman Islands, to also run for office because the pool of available talent and experience is quite short or quite empty. Limited. Thank you for the right word. But I will state that it is these unfortunate, small-minded thinking that seeks to prop up the decisions made by the latest government, in this case, the National Coalition for Caymanians. It is that dilution of an already limited pot that only gives fuel to the other side that says, Caymanians are clearly not enough of you, and you certainly are not cutting the mustard. We need to think more comprehensively and invite further members of society to run for office. Well, if we ourselves as Caymanians can't say that, we can disagree without being disagreeable, that we can work together without necessarily starting out together, but accept the fact that if you ran for public office in this instance and failed, the simple act of running for office shows that you are patriotic enough, that you care enough about the land of your birth.
Willing to risk enough.
You're willing to risk enough by becoming a PEP, and therefore, as we discovered in, the life of what a PEP actually experiences, to be rejected, arguably, for any career opportunities later in life, to make that kind of sacrifice and eyes wide open commitment, and then to be rejected by your own, not because you lack something, but because you did not wear the right color. You didn't fly the right flag. You're deemed to be a competitor or someone who may otherwise have disagreed with you. That is sad.
Some simple-minded thinking, in fact. And
it reminds me of the one thing. I'm just going to end on this.
That's fine.
They say a friend may agree with everything you say, but a real friend tells you the truth even when it does not work in your favor, and that is the friend you want by your side. Someone who has the courage to say to the leader, Mr. Leader, I respect the fact that you carry the authority. You walk with the big stick. You are the ultimate decision maker, but I will feel obligated to inform you that perhaps your current direction is the wrong one, and I will propose an alternative. That is a courageous individual, and that is someone that should be held in value, not disregarded, rejected, or kept outside simply because they're not on your level, so to speak.
You make some excellent points, and I want to build on that. And first, just to deal with the issue of the flattering remarks. Again, I do see it that way as well, and I will just highlight to the public. Don't forget, if anyone is trying to tear you down personally, it is because they feel below you, okay? You cannot tear someone down that you don't feel below. And that is definitely the circumstance that we see here. But where I pick up on this is, I personally have the belief that we should be, one, uplifting our Caymanian people, and we should be educating, enlightening, and elucidating things for all of us. And when I see people, and this is where you've heard me even make complaints with one of the other newspapers, where you hold things out, you don't mention certain things. That is not right. You have to give the facts, even if they don't necessarily sound like they're in your favor. So for the persons who believe, oh, well, this has happened before, or, you know what, Ellio, I would do the same thing, it doesn't matter. Okay? Let me just build on what my colleague has said, that doing something just because everybody does it or did it doesn't make it right. Well, one of the other reasons you're not allowed to do what they are doing now, assuming that is indeed the case, is because now it's illegal. You see, we didn't have a standards in public life before. It was only recently introduced. And let me give you a couple of other things that we used to do that we can't do anymore because there's a law. Child labor. Can't do that anymore. There was a time when you could beat your wife, Yeah, she needed a good spanking. Well, you can't do that anymore either because that's illegal. And I hope that we can agree that's for the best. Dumping waste in the sea. You could do that. It wasn't illegal at one point. Driving without a seatbelt. You could do that at one point. No, you can't. It's illegal. Smoking indoors in a public place. You could do that at one time. I remember flying on the plane, and there we are. People just lighting them up.
That was my thought. You could do it inside the closed, pressurized cabin of a plane.
But you can't do it anymore. Okay? So if you want to take the mentality, but come on, everybody used to do that, everybody did that. No, you can't do it. There's a law now.
Right.
Discrimination based on race or gender. We used to do that too. Niggers can't eat here. Blacks can't use the toilet. Whatever. It's not actually allowed anymore. I know it's amazing, but it's not allowed anymore. Not disclosing conflict of interest in public office. Again, there's a law. So for those persons who line up with that thinking, I encourage you to change it. one of the fundamental reasons why you can no longer get up and try to get people's mortgages canceled because they ran against you. And in this case, not trying to make it that at the end of the day, these individuals can serve on a board is simple. There's a law that says you're not allowed to do it. So I want to encourage all the media houses, don't just talk nonsense. Let's educate the public on exactly what's going on. If you don't know it, then ask someone else who does. So this is why I wrote the article about NCFC in terms of this tacit agreement to not employ or utilize persons who ran against anyone in that coalition group. Fundamentally, to my colleague's point, it is ethically and morally wrong. And even though it has went on, bottom line of it is now that there is a law that says it is illegal. And there's a couple of other things that continues to happen in office now that's illegal, and we have to do our best as a community to try to stamp them out. When people fail, because you can sin, as they say, by omission or commission.
Mm-hmm.
And if you fail to follow a law, like I didn't fill out the register of interest form when I should have, well, you broke the law.
Yeah.
And you're subject to $10,000 fine.
Yep.
And then when you have them saying, oh, well, yeah, I loaned $1.6 million. I know I don't have a license. You broke the law. All right? I hate to break it to you, but you broke the law. And if you don't believe me, check the case in 2015 with poor Leroy.
Poor old Leroy, boy.
Letting $400 to $1,000. Bobby had it.
$400. I had to go to rub time in Northwood.
Check Leroy if you don't believe it's illegal.
Yeah.
Check Leroy.
Absolutely.
So,
he'll elucidate you on the laws.
So we have, ladies and gentlemen, it is our responsibility. It is our obligation to hold our elected officials accountable. Why would anyone in this society want your elected officials to get away with victimizing people? Do you not understand that this pumpkin head that you are raising from the dead to kill other people will one day come for you?
Yes.
It is going to come for you.
Yes.
It's the same thing with these people with the media house. I go and call my road. She's going to come for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line, one day it's going to be your turn. Don't feed the monster. Don't feed the alligator. What my friend Dan, he was he's trying to appease the alligator by feeding him. It's not going to work.
That's not going to do it.
No, listen, you need to stomp it out because at the end of the day, you could be the one being victimized tomorrow. You can be the one being scandaled tomorrow.
That's right.
You could be the one being denied legitimate opportunities. And I'm pretty sure if all of you search your minds and hearts, you can probably already look back in your little personal archive and remember sometime that you were set aside, disenfranchised, you're relegated, whatever it is, missed opportunities simply because someone may not have liked you. Someone probably saw you as a competitor. We cannot allow that into the country. Yep. It is wrong ethically and morally. And to make matters worse, for the NCFC, for the new government, it is illegal.
Yes.
And we will be monitoring you. We want to see all of these persons that ran for office that made, as my colleague has says, awesome sacrifices to be able to serve this country. We are going to be listening and watching to see which one of them are going to be appointed to boards and given opportunities to play a role in this country. And if you do not employ them, then everyone can walk away quite rightly with the proper inference that the tacit agreement that we heard about was indeed true, and that you all have broken the law and have put your own political selfish interests ahead of the interests of the people of this country.
Indeed. And I just want to say, to the government specifically, who might think perhaps we're targeting them, we're not. Again, because something has happened all of the time does not make it right, but you were not the first person or first government to ever do this, so you are not being pointed at or, singled out. I will take it a step further. We have gone on record of doing so on this program since the election of April 30th of this year, is indicating that the current NCFC government have made certain utterances and made certain commitments and certain strives in directions that can only be defined as commendable. And we want to support them when we believe that they're heading in the right direction, doing things that perhaps others in the past have failed to do. I think of most recently the argument that was made at the last parliamentary session in defending the need to extend the presentation of the SPS and the budget by an additional 3 months only in election years, as their attempt to, for the first time, present real-time, real-life budgeting expectations and forecasts. No longer, shortballing it, lowballing it, saying the numbers that we really need are less when we know we're going to spend 3 times the amount, but in fact disclosing to the public for the first time what the NAU, what social welfare really costs, for sharing what indigent health care really costs, so we can gain an appreciation of these numbers and no longer think that, it's just the government's unfunded pension liability that is a risk to our future generations in terms of debt. No, there are a lot of areas in government spending that if we minimize or downplay will come back and bite us in the you-know-where. And I commend the government for being the first government to seek to legitimately present a budget sometime in November that may best reflect the present status quo. It may not work in their favor, but at least it's honest. And I think the people of this country deserve honesty at the very least. One writer to the program on the basis of this conversation has chimed in and said, this policy, if allowed to continue even under now the current government, seems undemocratic to me. Having a board of yes men and yes women, this is the next stage to creating a garrison society and more likens the communist country than a democratic one in which we hold ourselves up to be. I think that writer has hit the nail on the head. This is the bigger picture. This is the point to the remarks made first by my colleague, but supported by me. And that some people, again, small minds, will talk about people, whereas more enlightened minds will talk about the issues and why these issues are important because they impact the whole. And to your point, whilst right now this may benefit you, but at some point in the future, you can count on that pendulum swinging back in the opposite direction, and you will be the one it hits. Then, will it be right or will it be wrong?
And here's where we have to your point, I think the author hits the nail on the head as well. But I will even add further to that. I don't even completely want to say, hey, is there something wrong with choosing a person? And not that the author is saying otherwise, but it's not necessarily wrong with choosing on the board someone that you feel definitely supports your agenda, your direction. It's challenging to put people there that are going to challenge you in every corner. So let's just even work with that. If you put Sabrina on a board, I don't think Sabrina's going to be working against the government.
I don't think so.
No. Hello.
Well, not the current government because they were,
Well, she was a part of TCCP.
Yes.
So why would she be working against the government?
Mm-hmm.
No, it would be being done simply because at the end of the day, and again, I'm isolating these individuals, but I'm not saying I heard them say it.
Right.
I'm understanding what the tacit agreement is. But it would be because that specific individual who is now successful in that particular constituency in which she won or she competed against him is saying, we don't want that person on board. You would end up in a similar situation in relation to Jordan, for example.
Yeah.
Jordan was a member of CINP. Why would he, if he's working on a board, work to cause the government to lose? No, it's all nonsense. It is complete selfish political interest. And the bottom line of it is moral or wrong, ethical or wrong. And if some persons have consumed something that blurs that vision, blurs that opportunity to see it clearly, let's just understand this. It is against the law now. It's illegal. Yes, we don't beat our wives anymore. We don't throw our feces in the ocean. We don't do a lot of things that we used to do. And that one has to stop as well.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about, as we sit here and chit, Austin.
Chit.
Yeah, don't misunderstand it.
No. Not with an accent.
I couldn't resist.
Not with a Mexican accent.
Orale.
I'm being honest with you. Orale.
I'm being totally honest with you, my friend.
That's right, man. That's right. For real.
Okay, let me find something else I wrote about here. The one that stirred my friend. And let me just make clear, because I think this is important. I mentioned this about one of the other media houses, so I'll do it on this one as well.
All right.
I'm saying this because look at the same media house that's making all of this distortion. You're going to see. You're not going to get anything coming from that media house that holding the government accountable. Yeah. No, nothing.
No.
And we're not stupid. I don't think we're stupid. And you have to know why, at the end of the day, they're not going to do anything that even slightly seems to be opposed to the government. And again, that's the sad mentality as well, because really what any government, not just this one, but from all I have seen in the years that I've been involved with politics, is that you can't say anything. You can say 9 things good and say one thing bad. You hear what other suckers say about me? You hear what he say? Yeah, but I can deal with him though, That's the mentality. It's like, zip it up, my friend. Try to make yourself a little bit more accountable. Not everybody's got it out for you, Mm-hmm. In fact, sometimes a little correction's good. But ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, no one has to be lost on the fact that you're not going to get any correction, accountability on this from that particular media house with this government. All right? At the end of the day, we all know why. So bottom line of it is that the one particular article that I think kind of stirred it, and I'm going to read it again and hope that it pleasures them. Yeah. Because this is the reason. You probably got on the program and say, what was she going at Austin and Ellio again? What happened? Well, it's simple. Somebody's dog, If you try to attack someone, the dog will attack you. So here you go. Yesterday on our Straight Talk show, we had an important and timely discussion about the Standards in Public Life law. That's the new law that's coming. The roles of the Standards in Public Life Committee, SPLC, and how these frameworks are supposed to uphold transparency and integrity in our political system. Tell her that. One of the key issues we discussed was the responsibility of the SPLC to maintain the Register of Interests, a crucial tool designed to ensure the members of Parliament, MPs, senior civil servants, and board members declare their assets, liabilities, and other relevant financial interests. This is not just a formality. It is enshrined in law and backed by penalties for noncompliance. See what I'm saying? It's law. Mm-hmm. What these persons must do, rather than engaging in personal attacks, is to deal with the issues, address where that legislation is wrong, or get on there and confirm that it does exist and state that your government is wrong. Continuing on, this is not just a formality. It is enshrined in law and backed by penalties for noncompliance. A particularly troubling case raised during the program was the reported $1.6 million personal loan from the then Premier Wayne Panton to his fellow cabinet colleague and Minister of Health at the time, Sabrina Turner. Regardless of whether this transaction was innocent or carried no ulterior motive, it raises serious concerns of perception, ethics, and legality. Simply put, it does not look good. See, they didn't address that, did they? No, they're not going to address that. You know why they're not going to address that? Because that's facts. That's cold, hard truth. And they can't deal with that cold, hard truth. That's why they're not addressing that. A particularly troubling case of the $1.6 million loan by then Premier Wayne Panton. At the time, the Premier was actively trying to hold his government together, and a personal loan of that magnitude to a fellow minister creates the appearance of influence or undue obligation. Even if no wrongdoing occurred, the optics are troubling. And in governance, perception matters just as much as action. The SPLC conducted an investigation and reportedly concluded there was no breach. But how such a conclusion was reached, especially when one party declared the loan in the Register of Interest and the other did not, is baffling. This very discrepancy highlights a breach of duty. Again, take it to the bank, take it home, take it to your group, take it to your party. One of them didn't fill it out. They're wrong. That's a breach of duty. The SPLC conducted an investigation, like I said, and found that there was nothing wrong. And again, it is surprising. It's baffling. Don't know how to do it, but we're going to do an FOI and see if we can try to figure it out. According to the Cayman Islands Constitution, Order 2009, Section 12 or 121, subsection 2 to 3, and the Standards in Public Life Act 2014, as amended, public officials are required to declare all interest, assets, income, and liabilities annually and upon assuming office. Failure to do so is an offense. The law is clear. Section 13(1) to 2 of the Standards Public Life Act states that the SPLC must maintain the register and ensure it reflects all declarations as per the Constitution. Section 16(1), subsection A to B, says that anyone who fails to furnish a declaration or knowingly provides a false one commits an offense punishable by up to 2 years imprisonment or a $10,000 fine. I want you to get off the yapper, get off the personal crap, and deal with that. Tell us how your government is still right that they didn't fill out a register of interest form. Tell us how your government is right, but they're not addressing that because their government is wrong. Their government. Because it says here, you commit offense when you do that, punishable of up to 2 years imprisonment or $10,000 fine, which didn't happen. And we're going to find out why exactly that didn't happen. How much time I have, Mr. Harris?
45 seconds.
All right. I'll pause right here and just say that the official guidance issued by SPLC also makes it clear that loans must be declared unless they come from a regulated financial institution like a bank. Like a bank. Like a bank.
Like a bank.
Okay.
With the closing 30 seconds remaining, some of the listening audience might have saw me smiling while my colleague was speaking. I wasn't smiling at the remarks he was making, but I was being reminded of a comment that made me smile at the very beginning of the show. I said a pinch of salt, my friend, but the correct phrase is, and I want to see this on a T-shirt, I got a bucket of salt and a bottle of pine salt for that bullfrog. I want a T-shirt that says that.
I don't know who wrote those sort of
There'll
things.
be more Straight Talk still to come right here on your favorite Bobo 103.1 FM.
Bobo.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here. More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
A vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM. The BBC is the world's most trusted news source. And Bobo 103.1 is where you'll find the BBC World Service.
BBC News, the world news from the BBC.
And the home of Cayman's most listened to talk shows.
That's right, folks. Everyone is telling their mama about the cold hard truth.
And welcome to Straight Talk. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
Across Cayman, on FM, online, and on your smart speaker. This is Bobo 103.1. This is Bobo 103.1, powered by Health Services Authority.
At Health Services Authority, they are committed to caring for you. They are Cayman's largest and longest standing healthcare provider, offering the most comprehensive range of inpatient, outpatient, and public health services at 9 different locations across all 3 islands.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. The preliminary report into last month's deadly plane crash in the Indian city of Ahmedabad has been released, with attention firmly focused on the actions of the pilots. Investigators said the flight data from the Air India jet showed both the fuel control switches were moved to the cut-off position shortly after takeoff. This caused both engines to lose thrust. Here's the BBC's Samira Hussain.
You know, what's interesting is that this report was actually released at 2 a.m. local time in India. So many people wouldn't have had any moment to be looking at the report or trying to distill any of the information. Now, to be clear, it was certainly a report that has been eagerly anticipated for the entire week. But then, you know, we see that investigators have actually posted it, you know, very late at night or early in the morning here in India.
Palestinian officials have told the BBC that talks on a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal between Hamas and Israel are on the verge of collapse. The two sides have been holding indirect negotiations in Doha. Emir Nader reports.
On one key point of contention, the withdrawal of troops, a Palestinian official said the Israeli delegation presented a map which would allow it to, in effect, maintain control of around 40% of the Gaza Strip, including a number of cities. The officials also called an Israeli proposal to create a so-called humanitarian city in Rafah a trap and a clear plan for the forced displacement of Palestinians. On his visit to the United States this week, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had maintained a positive tone, telling hostage families that a deal was just a few days away. One of the Palestinian officials who spoke to the BBC said Israel was using the ongoing ceasefire talks in Doha to buy time.
The US Embassy in Jerusalem has condemned recent violence by Israeli settlers against a town in the occupied West Bank. Here's Tom Bateman in Washington.
The town of Taibeh in the occupied West Bank has strong links to the US. Most of the land is owned by Palestinian Americans. The attacks against the Christian town by Israeli settlers, including masked men torching cars and attacking homes, has been ramping up. On Monday, they set fields ablaze close to a 5th century church, leading to a call for international action by the town's priests. The condemnation of the violence from the US Embassy amounts to a rare rebuke in a year that's seen settler attacks on Palestinians grow, while the Trump administration has dropped the Biden-era sanctions against some perpetrators.
A mass layoff of US State Department staff is underway, with more than 1,300 people losing their jobs as part of President Trump's plans to streamline the federal workforce. The American Foreign Service Association called the move a catastrophic blow to US national interests. BBC News. President Trump has dismissed a question about the effectiveness of flood alert warnings in Texas as he visited communities devastated by the rapid rise of the Guadalupe River a week ago. Mr. Trump said only an evil person would ask a question like that. But the governor of Texas said the authorities needed to devise a response to prevent similar tragedies. Our reporter, Nomi Iqbal, is in Texas following Mr. Trump's visit.
When he sat down, he looked quite pale at one point. He looked visibly moved and shocked at what he had seen, and he expressed that. He expressed his anguish about what had happened, and so I think in many ways that's probably why he lashed out at the reporter for asking that question. Reporters ask those questions, they're allowed to. But as I say, it is also a very sensitive spot for him because there are criticisms in terms of how elected officials here have handled it, as well as the federal government.
The United States has for the first time imposed sanctions on the president of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel. He'll no longer be able to enter the US. The announcement came on the 4th anniversary of protests against the authoritarian regime in the island, triggered by a shortage of food and medicine. A notorious Ecuadorian drug lord has accepted a court's request that he be extradited to the US to face drug and gun charges. Adolfo Macias is currently serving a lengthy jail sentence in his home country for crimes including drug trafficking, organised crime and murders carried out by his Los Llaneros gang. The English Premier League champions Liverpool FC have announced they're permanently retiring the number 20 shirt in honour of its late player Diogo Jota. His death in a car crash last week caused widespread consternation. It's the first time the club has made such a gesture, calling it a unique tribute. BBC News.
The views and opinions opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man, to more Straight Talk here on Bobo 103.1 FM as we move into our final segment of the evening, where the time in studio is now 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, and the phone lines remain open at 745-2626. If you want to call up and offer up a comment, an opinion, or a remark on anything that we've been saying here this evening. And yes, even if it is to disagree with us, by all means, we would love to hear why.
Yeah, we welcome it.
We do.
So, I just want to finish reading this piece. I got to go back in now, but just to read the last section of this and to make one final comment, because I think it is crucial. That probably allows us to end the Friday great, leave with a good message for the weekend. So the official guidance issued by the SPLC also makes it clear that loans must be declared unless they come from a regulated financial institution, like a bank. So if you're a bank, then you don't have to declare it. If you're not a bank, you have to declare it. The individual that loaned the money, the then premier, is not a bank. Let's put it that way. So bottom line is both parties had an obligation to declare it. One declared it, the other one did not. In fact, I think it was the premier who did not declare it. That omission is a sin. That omission is a wrong. Again, I don't know why SPLC, how they got a different conclusion, and we'll be trying to see if we can find out how. In this case, since the loan was from an individual and not from a licensed financial entity, it should have been declared by both parties that only one person did so raises significant concerns. Furthermore, this situation raises even broader questions. For example, if this case is allowed to stand without consequence, does it open the door for anyone, whether an MP or even private company, is allowed to loan millions of dollars to a sitting member of parliament? Does disclosure alone make it acceptable? And so I want to highlight this again, ladies and gentlemen. I know that when we talk about this government or any government, I know how it is in Cayman. I've been down this road before. I'm 5-6 years old. And bottom line is, anytime you try to hold any government accountable, you have persons in the public that they'll step away from you as if lightning is going to strike and kill them. Oh my God, step away from this guy. But let me just tell you something. The reason why you do that is because all of you listening to me know exactly the sort of vindictive people that we have in this country and the vindictive people that we have running it. But what you should be doing is aiding in the process of stomping out that victimization, getting the vindictive people out of office. That's what would make you live a much happier, safer, and stress-free life. Not stepping away from me like lightning's going to strike you. Our other friend doesn't have to step away because she's completely working for the government. They can do no wrong. Once you pay, you play. We also raise another critical issue on the show. Whether Wayne Panton, as the lender of such a significant amount, was legally permitted to lend money without a license. The Monetary Authority law requires a license for lending as a business. And while some say this transaction may not qualify as such, it is important to recall that back in 2015, Judge Angeline Hernandez sentenced a man to 3 months imprisonment for lending between just $400 and $1,000 without a license. So if that was the standard in that case, it certainly warrants deeper review in this much larger matter. And again, we're talking about the good Leroy. Poor fella. I mean, I think he got the sentence he deserved. Let me just make it clear. But when I'm seeing this sort of injustice, This sort of thing happened and no justice being served. I got to feel sorry for the fellow. But either way, if Leroy went to prison for 3 months for lending $400 to $1,000 because you don't have a license, come on, ladies and gentlemen. Are you going to leave me here by myself? Are you going to step away like lightning is going to strike you because I'm saying that if you lend 1.6 at the minimum, somebody should at least say, yeah, it's wrong. But no, you get on a talk show and talk nonsense. The role of the SPLC is not just to maintain a register. It is to uphold the integrity of public life. That includes addressing perceived conflicts of interest and ensuring equal accountability regardless of title or political affiliation. When such questionable actions occur at the highest level of government, they undermine the credibility of the entire system. Caymanians have a right to transparency. We must demand it. And of course, I propose that a Freedom of Information FOI request be submitted to review the full details of this investigation. Only after a thorough FOI process can we determine what was done and perhaps more importantly, what was not done. You see, ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, I talked about Mr. Leroy, and I'll end with this on this particular matter. I talked about Mr. Leroy, and I keep referring to him, poor Leroy. But I want you to understand, there's no poor Leroy, because Leroy broke the law. But why am I saying that? And it's almost instinctive for me to say that. It's instinctive for me to say that because when you see an evil that's even higher, go untouched, undealt with, then it makes me and everyone else say, why am I supposed to respect the law? This guy lent a $1.6 million, nothing happens. And then someone over here lends $400 and he goes to prison for 3 months. These are the sort of things that make a good society turn bad. Because somebody feels, listen, don't come to me and talk to me about lending money. Tell me really now in this country, knowing that a premier loan, $1.6 million, without being a bank, without having a license, nothing happens. And then on top of that, you also arguably commit an offense by not filling it out in the register of interest, which carries a fine up to $10,000. Knowing all that, which individual at the end of the day really wants the police to stop at their door when they lend a friend now $1, $10, $200, and say, hey, but don't forget, bring me back $210, give me a little interest on it. You really now going to accept that you should go to prison? If you, like Leroy, lent $400 or $1,000, you really knowing what has occurred is going to feel justified. You're right. You caught me. I'm guilty. Carry me to prison. No, when you learn this sort of nonsense that somebody does all of that and gets away with it, then, of course, you take the position to say, no, you can't arrest me. And you'll house the other criminal who's doing it too. You'll conceal that also because you are feeling that the system is not right. The system is unjust. The system is working for one and not for the other. That one goose is getting something different as the gander. And this is why we have to stomp all of that out. And forget about names, forget about individuals, forget about whether you went to school with him and you and him graduated the same year. That's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if he's family or friend. At the end of the day, what matters is that you do what is right. You do what is lawful. And this is the same thing we call on all individuals who are members of parliament, and the same thing for those persons who are sitting on SPLC. We want to request and see exactly what has happened because it baffles us. It is very confusing what has occurred. And at the end of the day, why must we pursue this issue? We're not pursuing it for Leroy. We're pursuing it for all the Leroys of the world and anyone who wants to lend money in this country and does so without a license. And we want to make sure at the end of the day that everything is just. And worse in this particular case is the precedent that I see that has been set, that I want somebody to tell me when a particular corporation comes and lends and you find out that they have given a bridge loan to 3 of our member parliamentarians, especially if they were involved in a decision that positively impacts them or the person who gave them the loan. How are you going to complain? How can we complain when the precedent is set that arguably nothing is wrong with it? That's it for me, Mr. Harris, on that particular one. What time is it?
It is 6:15, but if you're a stickler for details, The clock is ticking down to now 6:16 now. In the short 10 seconds it took me to say that. But 16 minutes past the hour, 6 o'clock is the time in studio, giving us 14 minutes before we have to wrap it up for the day and the weekend. Again, just a reminder to tune in to Straight Talk each and every weekday evening from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. First on your radio dial, Bobo 103.1 FM, but also simulcasting live on YouTube and on Facebook, and hopefully soon online on our own webpage, which, again, as Ellio has mentioned to you before, is presently under development, under construction, but we're getting closer and closer and closer to its unveiling for you.
The website?
Yeah, our website, which is something we're excited about, but we're almost there.
It's technically ready now, and we're just gonna launch it on Monday.
Are we gonna launch it on Monday? You see how these decisions are made. Just right? Oh, really? Oh, yeah, thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it. Theoretically, you were advised in advance.
We're just having the discussion now.
Thank God it's
I mean, after all,
just us talking together.
After all, no one's listening to it.
No one's listening.
This is just a private discussion between you and I.
Chit-chatting. Yeah. Well, that's great to know. That is fantastic to know. And certainly, so the persons don't get it twisted. Listen, we build on each other's strengths, and IT is my colleague's strengths. It's what he spent a great part of his early career doing. I say all the time, I don't need to know how you make the computer do what I want it to do. I just need you to do it.
Need you to do it.
You know what I mean? I don't need you to break down. I don't need a lesson in computerese. I don't need to know, what the steps were from A to B.
You sound like one of my brothers, boy. You say, Ellio.
Just get to just get to it.
You say, Ellio. I don't need all the labor pains. I just need the baby.
I just need the baby.
Give me the baby, Ellio.
Keep the labor pains. I just want a baby. He is right, not knowing which brother it is, but I will say
I can't expose him because we'll give him no permission.
Yeah, no, don't expose him. Don't expose him like that. But he's right. He's absolutely right. Listen, I just want to put the haters to one side because that's what haters do. Haters hate. You know what I mean? And they're going to do it regardless of what we say or otherwise, but we're just going to push them out of view. Waiting for that T-shirt, though. I tell you, I want that little saying that cracks me up to this day on a T-shirt. I'd buy that T-shirt in every color you have. But I want to end on I think, an upbeat note. We see also in my favorite online publication, the Cayman Independent, that security officers operating in Cayman Bay will now be wearing body cameras, according to the DART management team. Marvin Cox, DART's Vice President of Property Management, said the new security measure is a proactive step towards reducing the likelihood of altercations. It will also ensure that should any incidents occur in the town, they are accurately documented, he explained. He went on to say that these devices can help with de-escalating potentially volatile situations whilst also providing clear, objective evidence when needed. And I absolutely agree with all of those sentiments. And why is this important? Again, if you are a follower of social media or whether you just have an Instagram account and you happen to be surfing one lonely weekend, you could not ignore it if you tried. Some of the videos that are sometimes posted up, which show young people, regrettably, young people anywhere between the age of 16 and 21 engaged in perhaps some uncomplimentary, let's put it that way, situations of fighting, use of inappropriate language, etc., all at Cayman Bay. And of course, it's been reported in the past, but arguably you only hear about it second or third hand. And those officers, security guards who are asked to uphold the peace and protect the welfare of, regular people who are just enjoying the environment, will now be, bolstered with chest-worn body cameras, much like you anticipate and see across law enforcement in, larger parts of the world, the United States, the United Kingdom, and etc. In this case, and oftentimes, in many cases here in the Cayman Islands, it's the private sector that leads the way. It certainly will have a de-escalating point of view. We can accept just at face value that if you're being videotaped or recorded, then you are less likely to say or do something that you could be held to account for later on. And certainly with security guards now wearing these body-worn cameras, I believe it would give them greater effect in asking persons who are in fact involved in
Yeah, it's a check on them also in terms of how they behave, what their behavior was like as well. So
absolutely. Now, again, it comes as no surprise that this is happening at Cayman Bay. Obviously, the owners and operators of that facility have very deep pockets. Let's not kid ourselves. Body cameras are expensive. They're not cheap. And the technology that links them together, likewise. But I will say that this is the kind of investment I'd like to see in our Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, because incidents like the one that immediately springs to mind that we haven't talked about.
I thought they said they are rolling it out, though. I think we actually may have seen that a couple of weeks ago.
Well, if they are rolling it out, they haven't gotten the budgetary expenses for it. I mean, we talk about, again, I think it was last Parliament session, the police talk about their manpower or human resource shortage. And then you had the previous premier, now member of the opposition, saying, but hang on, we gave you financing in the tune of $12 million. We agreed on it before we demitted office, sufficient enough for you to go out and hire as much as 77 new officers. But now the incoming administration, obviously tackling with the budget, have only committed $1.9 million of those $12 million that were previously approved under the previous administration. So I assume that in those funding shortages to deal with both human capital for the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, then they're likely to face similar challenges as it relates to resources which enable them to do their job more effectively, but also more fairly. And this brings me to the point of the road rage incident that we once talked about, where, again, you have a foreign national and a young Caymanian engaged in an altercation. Some words are expressed, arguably, by the foreign national to the Caymanian. The Caymanian reacts, and then it's the Caymanian who's now brought up on charges. Again, I'm not going to second-guess what occurred. I can only share that information which has been shared in the public domain and comment on it. But surely, again, we could see where, had the officers who were attending the scene in that incident were also wearing body-worn cameras, then clearly, whether Joe Public would have heard about it immediately or eventually when it went forward,
you're raising a good point.
It would have offered some clarity into the circumstances.
You raise a good
some
point.
Further elucidation as to who the offender really was.
You're raising a good point, Mr. Harris.
And that, I just say, just to conclude, means safer policing. Safer for the police, safer for us, the citizens. When we know that the police officer is being held accountable for his or her actions just as well as the offender or perhaps the victim or the individual who now may face themselves in the unfortunate situation to have the full undivided attention of a police officer. It leads to safety and certainly fits the worldwide accepted motto of policing services around the globe: to protect and serve. So I hope the government will, when they consider the doling out of resources, will recognize that, not every resource is either necessary, but, there's needs versus wants. But certainly body-worn cameras are not new. They have set the precedent in multiple jurisdictions. They clearly do have a value, and I hope that this lesson, as being provided by the private sector, in this case, Cayman Bay, congratulations, well done. This is a good move. It certainly will protect that facility and the patrons who, regularly shop there and, just go there in general. But likewise, it would be nice to see this extended by the government to our own Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, who represent the law enforcement arm of the service. Ellio?
Well, I was just saying that you raised a very good point, and that in itself creates a bit of trouble, because if you recall, one, to add to the things that you've said that the foreign national did, there was a video there that showed that he opened the door and actually went in arguably to assault the gentleman, as far as I can recall. But the commissioner of police said something to the effect that the video used in the investigation must be properly authorized or authenticated, something to that effect. So in essence, they weren't taking that particular video.
Yes.
And that, again, is troubling, because I sure hope to take the video off their own cam. But I think they also mentioned that they're supposed to be bringing this out at the end of 2025.
Okay.
Is what my research shows me really quick now.
Okay. Well,
but either way,
we hope to see it. Certainly in the private sector, we think it's a step in the right direction. Kudos to the private sector for, again, leading the way in this regard. And again, to the, government bean counters who are preparing in their own mind, whilst they're on a summer break right now, but hopefully they're still behind the scenes working, either in caucus or at the cabinet level, undoubtedly poring over the country's finances in preparation for the introduction of the strategic policy statement, as well as the budget, which by law has to be presented before the 31st of December. Otherwise, we run, of course, awry of the law, and not to mention paychecks, salaries for public servants will go unpaid. We don't want to make another precedent-setting move by going down in history as the first and only government to do that. So again, we appreciate the work that the government officials, our elected officials, the cabinet officials are doing. And in terms of resources to the Royal Cape Police Service, yes, there's a huge wish list in terms of resources that law enforcement arguably could use, may need, but there's also an affordability factor, and one has to consider which of those resources offer the greatest value for money, and body-worn cameras, without a doubt, has to fall in that category. And again, I praise the private sector for proving this point and hoping that the government officials will agree with it. The RCIPS undoubtedly agree with it. Even in this article, they expressed its support for the new measures, saying that this collaboration between the RCIPS and DART has continually resulted in positive outcomes, and undoubtedly body-worn cameras have been proven to enhance public trust and provide valuable documentation that supports law enforcement and community safety. They go hand in hand. So kudos to the DART group, kudos to Cayman Bay, kudos for the police officers and the RCIPS for teaming up in those efforts to keep that budding town safe. And hopefully that may transition into keeping this budding town called the Cayman Islands even safer in the near future.
Makes sense.
But that's all the time we have for you today. We have about 45 seconds again, Ellio, remaining. Any final remarks?
I just want to say thank you all very much for joining. Hopefully we've had a good discussion today, and that you've been educated, enlightened, and elevated in some way. And just want to encourage you to make sure that every day, you remember that what we feed our minds is just as important, if not more important sometimes, than what we feed our body. So at the end of the day, don't listen to the garbage. Listen to something that you can learn a little bit and improve yourself day by day. Thank you very much for tuning into Straight Talk.
Very well said, Ellio. And thank you to our listening audience, the contributors who have added to our conversation, shared your comments. Again, be sure to tune in to more Straight Talk each and every weekday evening, starting at 4:30 p.m. here on Bobo 103.1 FM.
The home of the BBC World Service, the most trusted news source in the world. This is Bobo 103.1. The following commercial messages are brought to you exclusively by Stingray Media.
It's back! The Rubis Fuel for Life campaign is turning up the heat this summer, and you could win a share of over $90,000 in free fuel or even $20,000 in